So welcome aboard, everyone. If you're joining Power Monday for the first time, good to know that this is a program that has always been there now almost 5 years. Every Monday morning, we meet like this, as long as it's not a public holiday, and we welcome you. My name is Otieno Paul Peter from Live Your Dream, a company that hosts this program in conjunction with ICT Gurus, and we are here with a number of people who are in the leadership of this particular program, whom you're going to get a chance to know. So you are very much welcome, and feel you can always keep this link and do it. Log in every morning, every Monday morning. We will be pleased to have you. So at this juncture, I'd like to welcome. I'd like to welcome. Uh, Let me welcome Lucita the Poetess to say a poem, and then Cynthia will say something brief about Power Monday, and then introduce our guest.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mmeamkaje? Juma lililopita tulisema ya kwamba subira huvuta heri. Nasikia leo nimesema nitakariri shairi lenye mada nitasubiri. 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 Nitasubiri kwa shukrani kila siku nikiwa macho. Nitasubiri nikitegemea baraka za Mungu, hata maji yanipite, mawimbi yakinipita, nitasimama imara. Matumaini yanajenga. Nitasubiri kwa uvumilivu. Hata dhiki kinizunguka, moyo wangu hautakimbia, kila siku nikiwa tayari. Msaada wa peponi, nitaendelea mbele nikisubiri. Nitasubiri kwa matumaini. Kila mche mwenye kustawi, jua linapochomoza na pia giza linapozunguka, nitaamini kesho ipo. Mwanga utanipatia nafasi, nitasimama imara, na ninapata nguvu ya kwamba nitasubiri kwa shukrani. Kila siku nitakayoyapata, ninajua njia ni ndefu, magumu ya kunifikisha. Moyo wangu hakika hauna hatua, nitasema nitasimama kwa imani. Nitasubiri kwa subira. Kama mti uliokomaa, upepo unapovuma, mataifa yanapopita, nitasema mizizi yangu iko imara. Nitasimama kwa nguvu na nitasubiri na subira. Na maji yatakaponizunguka, nitaamini kwa kila kitu ya kwamba Mungu yupo. Nitasubiri. Na ninajua ya kwamba mwishowe jua litachomoza, sababu nilisimama imara. Nitasubiri na subira. Asante.
Thank you very much. Asante sana. Just to confirm to that Swahili, reminds me that poem, or rather a shairi, which was in one of the books I did in literature. I think the shairi was extracted from Kilia Chahaki, and it had some theme related to that. There is somebody who made me love Swahili, and that was Ken Walibora. I read his book, which had very beautiful poems. I still remember some of them to date. Now, let me invite Cynthia Wanyonyi. Cynthia, you can take up the mic and introduce the guest. Welcome everybody who is still joining. This is Power Monday, and we are happy to have you here this morning. We do this every Monday. Yeah, so Cynthia.
Good morning, everyone. I'm privileged and honored to introduce today's speaker, who is taking us through the topic, climbing the corporate ladder. He's one of the renowned CEOs and leaders in our nation. He is the founder and CEO of the Leadership Group Limited, a Nairobi-based consultancy firm, which is involved in facilitating board practice, and leadership training, as well as providing executive coaching and business advisory services. He previously served with Deloitte East Africa as a financial services industry partner, and with the KCB Group as the Chief Executive Officer, among many other senior private sector appointments. He has also served as the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance and Planning and Treasury in the Government of Kenya. He has a vast board experience. He's the Group Chairman of EABL. He has served as the Chairman of Kenya Breweries Limited Kenya. He served as the Non-Executive Director in BAT Kenya, Director, Standard Bank Group, Non-Executive Director, Standard Bank South Africa, past President of the International Coaching Federation Kenya Chapter, and the past Chairman of the Institute of Certified Public Accountants in Kenya. He holds an honorary Doctor of Business Leadership degree from KCA University. He has an executive MBA from ISAMI, and a Bachelor of Commerce degree from the University of Nairobi. He's also an alumni of the Harvard Business School Advanced Management Program and a fellow of the Kenya Institute of Bankers, Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Kenya, the Institute of Directors Kenya, and Institute of Certified Secretaries Kenya, in addition to holding the International Coaching Federation's credential as a professional certified coach. He's currently the Chancellor of KCA University, which is a business and technology university in Kenya. In recognition of his contribution to national development in Kenya, he was awarded the honor of Chief of the Order of the Burning Spear, CBS, by the head of state. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Dr. Martin Luke Oduor-Otieno, CBS, to take us through today's topic. Karibu sana daktari.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. I hope you can hear me. Delighted to be with you here, and let me just share my screen so that we can get going. Cynthia, just clarify for me, how much time do I have?
Let me clarify. You have we have up to around 8:05 thereabout to finish everything, including Q&A. Then we summarize in 10 minutes. So it's about 30 minutes plus questions. That's about 35, 40, 45. You can do 40.
All right, that's good. So let me share my screen so that we can begin the conversation. And just let me know if it comes through. Can you see my screen?
Yes, there it is.
All right, great, thanks. So once again, thank you very much for welcoming me here. This is my first time to be in this distinguished audience and company, so delighted, and I thank you for inviting me. I do, of course, know a number of people in the room today. So I'll probably spend about 20 minutes or so, and then we can engage in the conversation given the amount of time that we have this morning. When I was invited, I was asked to talk about climbing the corporate ladder. And so we are going to engage on that topic. I do know that all of you are distinguished, corporate people, and you've climbed the ladder. And so it's of interest to me that this is a subject that is still of interest to you, actually. So I'll probably ask you that question when we get to that point. Most people in this country know me for four things. I know that we've been used to talking about three things, but actually most people know me for four things, which is the work that I've done at the in the accounting profession in this country. So most people who are accountants would have heard of me. The leadership of ISPAC, the accounting profession, and the birth of KCA University in the 1990s and 2000s. So if any of you have gone through KCA University, you'll probably be familiar with that library, which bears my name. Other people know me because of the 2 years that I spent in government, which was christened by the media as the Dream Team. So I was part of a group of 6 people initially, who were appointed by the late President Daniel Arap Moi to come in and help support the country through some reforms at a very difficult time for this country in 1999, 2001. So a number of people would remember me from that time if they were old enough then, or if their parents told them about it. Then more recently, people might remember me as the former CEO of KCB Bank Group. That was a short period, just about 7 years, but it was a 7-year period that was full of action and activity. And so some people will remember me for that. Over the last 10 years, some people who have followed me closely remember me as the founder of the leadership group. Since end of 2015, we'll be celebrating 10 years this year in that group. So those are the spaces that many people will probably have interacted with me through. Let me also say that in 2012, through the support of some of the people in this group, I can see Dan Odhiambo Olale. So Dan and friends of his, Rosemary and Barack Muluka, supported me in the publication of this book, Beyond the Shadows of My Dream, which documents, obviously my life. I was born here, I did this, I ended up there, but also having lessons in leadership and other areas. So if you're interested in a copy of this book, you can take a screenshot or take a picture here and get in touch with the addresses and the phone numbers which are indicated there, as well as the tail number there. So that is available. And Dan can tell you more about it, especially how he went around gathering information that is contained in that book. And a number of things that I'm going to be talking about this morning I've actually picked them out of this book as well, which some of you may have read already. About the leadership group briefly, so we are celebrating 10 years this year, and we offer a number of services to our clients. Executive coaching, so I trained as an executive coach in 2015, so I do a lot of that. We support boards of directors in board practice and governance, so governance, board training, governance audits, board evaluations, and anything to do with boards. Culture and change management, strategy, supporting organizations in development of strategy and midterm reviews, leadership, training, and both short and long-term leadership development. And this year, we're introducing 2 additional services, human resource services, which include organization design and search services, as well as technology advisory services. So we've got a team of experts in all these areas who support us here. So just in case you are interested, after this session, you could take down our contacts. We've got an office in Westlands, just behind Salient Center, and you can always reach us there. So again, you can take a screenshot of this, or you can take a picture of it and reach us for those services. So last night, actually, when I was thinking about this morning, and the topic I was giving was climbing the corporate ladder. So the word scaling came up for me as well, and I decided to go to our friend Google, and I asked the question, what's the difference between scaling and climbing the corporate ladder? And this is what Google told me. So scaling could be more focused and strategic, could involve larger leaps and more significant challenges, while climbing could be a gradual progression through hierarchy within organizations. And so I decided to change the word from climbing to scaling, because I think that all of us, as we go through our careers, are more likely to be thinking about, in a very focused way, about what this career is going to be, how I'm going to go about it, and how it's going to end for me. What are the leaps and bounds that I want to make here? What are the challenges that I might encounter? How will I deal with them? So rather than moving from one kind of job group to another job group, by 5%, by 10%, etc., that we are looking or should be looking at how we can grow and maybe grow in the shortest possible time. And so I'd like us to just reflect on that word scaling um, as opposed to climbing. There will be situations where we are actually climbing, but actually the bigger thing is how do we actually scale in our careers so that we are able to move much, much faster to achieve whatever it is that we want to achieve. The second thing is that as I was thinking about this topic, I decided that the best way of demonstrating it from my point of view was to actually look at my own career and how that has developed over the years. I've got a diagram here that I want to use for this conversation. This diagram actually is my version of a corporate ladder, and this is my own corporate ladder. And I'd like to invite you just to, after this, to go back and draw your own corporate ladder. Give it some intentionality, depending on where you are. This ladder for me spans 46 years. And there will obviously be people in this room who are not 46 years of age, and who might begin to think that, this is a really old person who is talking to us today. But I take that, right? Because my work career started way back in 1979. And after I left university, where I did a BCom degree, I then joined what at the time was called Panel Bellhouse Mwangi Accountants, which today is Ernst & Young. It went through a transformation over the years and today is part of the EY group. And I stayed there for just under 3 years. And then I joined BAT. Now, the significant piece here is that why did I go in there? I went in there because professional services firms, by definition, provide a very good grounding for people who want to be intentional about their careers. They provide discipline, they provide training, they encourage hard work. There's no time for laziness, lazing around. And they're quite strict in everything that they provide. So those of you who have worked in any of the professional services firms will attest to this. They also ensure that if there's any learning and any examinations to be done from a professional perspective, that you actually do those. So between 1979 and 1982, I did my certified public accountants examinations, and I qualified as an accountant in 1980, end of 81, going into 82. And so I've been a CPA since then. And then I got bored of being in audit and doing audit services. And so I decided to go into what I call the real world. And I went into BAT and I spent 10 years, the next 10 years there between 1982 and 1992. Within that, I was doing both climbing and scaling. I was climbing because in the 10 years, I moved from a trainee, through the work that we were doing, cut across all the departments in the organization, whether it was finance or marketing or production or sales or, strategy, so everything you can think of, or agriculture in the tobacco leaf growing areas. So I was an accountant across all those functions. I'm mentioning this because as we think about scaling or growing our careers, the question to ask is, how broad are we in our experience, right? Are we just single-minded in whatever it is that if we're an accountant, we're an accountant, or do we take the opportunity to broaden our knowledge and our experience, which will help us in future? And I would say that um, my greatest benefit out of the 10 years in BAT was just broadening my knowledge and the spaces that I could operate in. And therefore, 10 years later, I went into banking. And I stayed in banking for 21 minus 2 years. And you can see the period between 1992 and 2007. Actually, between 1992 and 2013, right, I was in banking. Less 2 years, which I will talk about shortly. And again, going into the banking career was it was both serendipitous, but also intentional. Having done 10 years in this industry, and I hate what ladies like calling the glass ceiling. Women say, we can't progress beyond this because of glass ceiling. They used to say that at least. And I also couldn't progress to the board level to be an executive director at the time because that was reserved for expatriates. And so for me, there was a moment there which triggered, if I really wanted to get to the board level and ultimately to become a CEO, I could not do it within this environment, and therefore I left, and I moved into banking. And again, the same story. Between 1992 and 1997, I was agitating to join the board of Barclays, then now ABSA. Because again, bankers did believe that, they were know-it-alls and they could do everything and nobody else, a non-banker, if you didn't come in from like with your O levels and join as a clerk or a cashier and work your way up, then you are not a banker. And of course, I was joining this at a much higher level. So it took me much longer to become a finance director. It took me 5 years of agitation, and I became that in 1997. And again, quite interesting, learning a new field, and again, trying just to ensure that that things were moving. In 1999, I got a call and I was recruited into the government of Kenya in what was then christened the Dream Team, with 6 colleagues of mine, Dr. Richard Leakey, who was head of public service, Titus Naikuni, the late Shem Migot Adola, who was PS Agriculture, the late Wilfred Mwangi, who was Deputy PS Agriculture, Mwagazi Mwachofi, who was IFC World Bank person. I think that was the 6. Richard, Titus, Mwagazi, myself, and the 2 professors in agriculture. And that was obviously an interesting year. And if you buy the book, you will be able to read more about it. But certainly, we did our national service, and we can spend time talking about that. The jury is always out whether we did anything useful or whether we just kind of a hopeless group of individuals doing nothing and earning a lot of money. And then 2001, we got fired from those positions. And when I went back to Barclays, I had a return ticket. And so I picked up the return ticket and went back and spent the next 3 years there, 4 years, 2001 to 2004, 2 years of which I went and worked in Johannesburg, running some Pan-African projects for Barclays. And again, for me, there are a number of lessons to learn here, just through so where is the scaling of the corporate ladder here? What are those opportunities for moving in and out of places, moving out of private sector into public sector, back into the private sector? What are the learnings there? And then in 2004, I wanted to come back home and therefore came back as deputy CEO, group CEO at KCB, and spent the next 7 years there, most of which I was CEO, and rapid transformation and growth opened up the bank in many places: South Sudan, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, scaled up Tanzania, scaled up Kenya, and then left at the end of 2013. No, at the end of 2012 and into 2013. And at that point, I decided I needed to get some consulting experience, and so I got a job at Deloitte as a financial services partner, and stayed there for 3 years. And at the end of 2016, I then set up the leadership group at the end of 2015, and that is what I do to date. And so when I think about this topic of scaling the corporate ladder, for me, there are a number of learnings here. And some of those learnings are covered on this slide. And if you were to talk about secrets in scaling the corporate ladder, these are open secrets, which many of you already know, but I just want to reiterate them here. Self-awareness. So understanding who we are and what our strengths and weaknesses or opportunities for growth are. What are our values as persons? What are those no-go areas? What are the boundaries that we build around ourselves even as we grow our careers? Is there clarity around our career goals? I would say that for myself, and this is a story that may or may not be believed, but way back when I went for that interview in BAT in 1982, the panel was surprised when they asked me, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I said, I want to be a CEO of a large organization. And I was like a 26-year-old guy at the time, didn't probably know much about what CEOs do and what corporates are all about. But there's something in my mind that was already niggling there about running an organization. It took me much longer to get there. I got to the CEO position when I was just getting to 50 years old. I handed over to Joshua Igara, who was 38 years old. I would have loved to have done what Joshua did, which is get to that position at 38 years old. So I was 12 years later than him. And again, that's a point that we can have a discussion on. The second one is having a positive mindset. There's just so many negatives in life these days. Things don't go wrong. There's just so much challenge, wherever you look, left, right, and center. So having a positive mindset can sometimes be difficult, and sticking to our values can sometimes be difficult. But for me, that is quite important if one is intentional about growing or scaling the corporate ladder. There will be ups and downs, and there's a point number 6 on resilience. There will be ups and downs. How we deal with those ups and downs are very, very important. In my own instance, there have been a number of ups and downs through this career journey. As I've said, it's taken me much longer to do what I wanted to do, but I got there. The third one is having a strong support system. What's our support system? We cannot do it alone. So who do we surround ourselves with? And are they people who will enable us to make progress or not? So what kind of friends do we have? How grounded are we on the family side? What about our spirituality? For me, those two have been quite strong, family and spirituality, and of course, friends. What kind of mentors and professional networks do we have? How do we use them so that they can support us during good times and not so good times? I've talked earlier around setting clear goals. So establishing clear goals. What are they right at the start as we start our careers? Continuous learning. This is a big one for me, that sometimes we leave school and then we think that learning is over. Up till this morning, I'm still in the space of learning. On the coaching side, I'm still growing. I'm attending classes. I'm reading books. And in this space where there's just so much information and resources around, I think it's important as we grow and scale our careers, that we don't forget, we don't leave back learning, and there's just so much that is happening. I've spoken about resilience. How do we build that muscle? Those of you who go to the gym, you know that enables you to get the right type of body, and so in terms of resilience, what are we doing? How do we do things like reflection? What has gone well? What has not gone well for us today? How do we plan tomorrow and the day after, etc., and the rest of this year? Feedback, feedback and feed forward. So, how are we using this? Are we open to it? Do we ask for it? Do we go out, asking for it from our trusted colleagues, or even from people who are not necessarily our friends? What kind of feedback are we getting, and how do we use it? Then maintaining a growth mindset. Do we see challenges as challenges, or do we see them as opportunities for growth? And how do we use that? And it ties very much that positive mindset that I spoke about earlier. As I've mentioned, there's a lot of things which stress us in life. So how do we then build capacity to manage some of those stresses around us? And it helps to have a support system also that can see us through some of those very difficult moments. And who are those, and how do we use them? And finally, being open to adjustments and changes in the career plan. So there will be, opportunities. So I remember, one time in my leadership, trying to get a lady to go and work in a different jurisdiction as a CEO, and she said to me, no, I just want to stay here. I'm not going anywhere. And she may have been absolutely right, because maybe it was family reasons or something else. But how do we build flexibility in our careers if we're going to grow those careers? So I would say, ladies and gentlemen, that this slide for me captures what I would call some of the fundamentals in scaling the corporate ladder. There will be difficult issues. I mean, there's a lot of politics in the workplace. There's a lot of people trying to undercut everybody else, and so there's lots and lots of things. But building that resilience, having that positive mindset. Um, you know, Yesterday I was listening to a conversation, I think over the weekend on Saturday, where one of the senior kind of CEOs in this country was talking about his own experience, and how in one of the roles that he performed, he had been promised that he was going to be the next, leader in that particular element. And the following day, somebody else was shipped in from somewhere. And the question in his mind was, do I stay or do I leave? And he decided to stay, and he stayed there for the next 4 years. And people were wondering whether he was crazy or what was wrong with him. How could he stay there when he had been so badly treated? And he said, I've got an assignment here. I've not finished it. I'll finish it, and then I'll move at the right time. And therefore, he was able to do that and move at what he called was the right time. So all these things happen in the workplace and in careers. And so it's important for us just to, as we all know, because all of you are career people, as you all know, to continue and to remain strong. And so as I come to a conclusion of this conversation, just to say that, all of us decide what is significant and what's not for us, and we decide how to take it forward. We got to learn how to reframe our thoughts, because nobody else is going to do it for us. We need those support systems, but at the end of the day, the decision stays with us. The decision to stay strong, the decision to stay focused, the decision to look after ourselves, body, mind, and spirit. And that decision stays with us, and we can get support systems around it. And of course, we are all created in the image and likeness of God. We got to bet on ourselves. We've got to look for where we can get support. If it is a spiritual side, let's do that, because that's really important for us. And I always say that leadership is not for the faint-hearted. we need courage as leaders. It's not an option. We need to be courageous in what we do. We need to believe in ourselves. We need to have confidence. We need to build it. For some of these, we would need scientific resources. We can do scientific assessments of ourselves to see where we are. We can do 360-degree assessments, see who we are and what areas we need to grow in. So, Peter Paul, I will stop there. Just in case anybody didn't take a picture of this, you can still take a picture of this. And if you didn't take a picture of that, you can also take a picture of that. And I will therefore stop sharing my screen and come back to you so that you tell me what to do next.
Thank you. Thank you very much, bro. This is now the time when people just ask questions and we will answer as many of them as possible. You just mentioned slightly about corporate politics. Would you say whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, and how can you take advantage of it? That is from me. Somebody, Velma. Okay, this one is a simple one. Velma has just asked if there is a soft copy of the book for people who may not be able to access hard copy. I think that one can be answered even through the umbrella. We will be able to get that. And then there is Dr. Melvin, who has said, how did you navigate through ethnic bias? That is, suppose it exists there. So maybe you'll start with those ones, and then we move to the next set.
Thanks. So corporate politics, is it good or bad? Well, the reality is that it exists. So whether it is good or bad, is I think it's really for you to decide. I mean, is it helping you? If it is helping you, then you'll obviously say it's good. If you are able to, but I mean, my response to that, Peter Paul, is that human beings are social animals, and therefore, wherever there's more than one person, there's bound to be what you might define as politics. The important thing is how we navigate around that. How can we navigate around that? Uh, how do we influence the right outcomes for ourselves? How do we influence the right outcomes for our teams and our people? Do we understand what this politics is all about? Is it something that we want to participate in or we don't? When I was in school doing my BCom long time ago, we had actually a course called organizational politics. So it is something that has been around, that has been studied, and books have been written about it for a long time. So we cannot avoid it, but it's important to decide where we stand and how we want to participate or not in it. If it is harming us, then we always have a choice. Life is a choice. We can stay here, we don't stay here. We can do this, we don't do that. So we got to choose what we want, what we feel is good for us. Yes, you can access this book on Amazon as well. So that is that's correct. I'm from the old school, so I still like turning papers and underlining things that are important for me and so on. So I'm from that school, but you can get your soft copies on Amazon. Ethnic bias, I think that's a big thing in our country, and has always been. I'm a strong believer in diversity myself. Um, I do surround myself with people from all sorts of backgrounds, all walks of life, all genders. Well, there are only two genders, so I do surround myself with all sorts of diversity skills and so on, because that diversity is what really help us grow as a person, as a people. And so, how do I navigate ethnic bias? Um, well, I do my best and I let God do the rest, actually. Um, and I will not say that it has not been an issue for me. It has been. Um, uh, and I've basically remained true to myself and dealt with those ethnic politics in the best way that I could. Yeah, I think that's the best I can do to respond to that, Peter Paul.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, next, somebody says, that is Sam. I love that you are a strong advocate for continuous personal development. Out of curiosity, what's your leadership challenge for 2025? And then Patrick says, how does one maintain the trajectory of upward scaling despite the hardships that journey faces? So there is this. There, I think hardships could be things like you want to change a career. There is this issue. By the way, what drives people upwards? Is it the money or is it the growth? I don't know. Maybe you can talk about that. Then Maurice says. I feel extremely privileged and honored to be in this session today. Martin, you have been my role model, and at one time, we were together in a men retreat at Tigoni. I have noted your comment when you referred to 7 years in a workplace as short. I find that strange. How best do you build or scale a career in a situation where we do short year jobs, e.g., 2 to 3 years or 5 years or max 10 years? And today, I think there is also a lot of impatience. I find that many people say, "Oh, 3 years, same place, same spot." They find it quite just unwelcome. I don't know what you think about that. And then some other Kevin has asked something interesting. How did you secure your corporate return ticket? Maybe you can handle those ones.
Yeah. So thanks. Let me take those first. I think the first one was about continuous personal development and what's my leadership challenge for 2025. My leadership challenge for 2025 is obviously, I don't know what you mean by leadership challenge, but the way I understand it is, what's my focus area in leadership for this year? I think it's continuous growth for myself. As I mentioned, I'm an executive coach and I'm trying to get to a mastery level in coaching. So that's a leadership challenge for me. Um, I'm continuing to kind of grow leaders. So that's another challenge for me. And I'm also now beginning to think about sustainability of my company beyond me, beyond my time. So that's a leadership challenge for me over the next 2 years. I don't want the company to go under when I leave it. And therefore, I'm thinking about things like succession and really just grounding this company that is going to be 10 years old this year. Um, Hardships for scaling up. Uh, what uh, I think there was something about scaling up, and there was something about what causes people to move around. Is it growth or is it money? I think it's a combination. It's both. It could be money, it could be growth, it could be market dynamics. Things are changing, and you feel that you need to move around. It could be that you've stagnated somewhere, and you now need to grow and do something else. Um, I smiled about the 7 years as short. I probably should not have said short. I only said short in the context that people think that I stayed at KCB for like 20 years or something. Uh, so I make that point that actually I was only there for 7 years. But I take the point that these days, 3 years, if you get 3 years, a good 3 years from somebody, you've actually done very well as a leader. 3, 4 years, and give it your best, and motivate guys to give their best during that period of time. I did secure my return ticket at Barclays because I did know that working in a public service is quite tricky. Today you have a job, tomorrow you don't have a job through the radio, as was the case during our time. And therefore, having a young family at the time, I did negotiate with my employer that, if things don't work out here, are you willing to take me back? And fortunately, they were gracious enough. They said, yeah. If you want to come back within the next 2 years, you have a return ticket. If the place is too good for you that you want to stay there beyond 2 years, then the return ticket will be cancelled. Unfortunately, we were fired within, I think, 21 or 22 months, which was still within the 2 years. So I was able to go back.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I actually like that you keep learning. This is something we talk about often, more so in this platform. Every morning, what are the routines that people can pick? It's one of them is learning. Then you've mentioned a great element of faith there, believing in God. You do your best, then you leave God to do the rest. That's very great. Somebody, Sir Lemmy, I don't know what he means, but he's asked, are there some material designs or tools for scaling up available? Are there some maybe available tools and designs for scaling up? I don't know whether it's something beyond what you shared. I don't know what you will understand by that. Maybe you will comment on that. Then there is Mercy. Mercy is saying, going back to school becomes difficult when you are denied the chance, yet you are paying your own fees. How can one handle this at workplace? Oh yeah, you are at workplace, you want to go to work, and I know enough people who did not finish their maybe an MBA or something because there is too much work. And how do you handle that? June said, thank you, God bless you for the humble self-efficacy demeanor you project. You look amazing at your age, easily 20 years younger. If a movie was to be made of your life, where is that? I'm losing it again. Uh, uh, if a movie was to be made of your life, which actor would you have to play? Would you have play? Would you have play you? Would you have play you? I don't know what that means. Have a brilliant week ahead. Then success and planning. Then Mugo, Rian Mugo has asked. Mugo has asked. This thing jumped. Oh, Dr. Melvin asked about something at KCA. What leadership skill gaps do you find current day corporate Kenya, in current day corporate Kenya, and how do KCA, the leadership group, and the institute director fill the the gaps that you find? Then, yeah, there was this other one. How different is leadership in corporate world, public sector, and personal entity? Maybe we can handle those, then we call it. I don't know whether we'll get another time to handle another set. Yeah.
So thanks. First of all, just to acknowledge and thank, was it Mercy, for her comments.
June. That was
Was it
June.
June? Yes, yes, June. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that, and as we say, we all give glory and thanks to the Almighty. So there was a first question about designs and tooling for scaling up. I would just recommend that you look up resources beyond what I've said. There's just so much resources that you can get these days out in the various spaces, Google and everything else, and just utilize those. I think the question about work and studies that really requires intentionality. I mean, there's no shortcut there. When I did my executive MBA, I was already working. It was much later in my life, and I did it on a sandwich basis. I could take off a week, go to class for a whole week, do weekends and do assignments and do this and the other. And even right now, I'm still, attending classes and doing stuff, on weekends and in the evenings and taking some days off. So it just requires intentionality and focus. And then leadership skill gaps. These are numerous. These are just so numerous. If we didn't have them, we'd not be having the kind of challenges we continue to have across organizations, whether public, private, or non-profit. And so, we don't have time, to go through all that, but obviously, I would encourage you to either enroll into some of our programs at the leadership group, and we can explore these matters more. But I must just say that all these organizations, I mean, KCA now has got, close to 40,000 students. My first task as chancellor in November last year was to graduate 3,000 students, and all of them are students of business and technology. And all of these are aimed at addressing some of the leadership skills gaps that exist. So there's just, a lot of opportunities around, and not only for people coming into the workplace, but people going out as entrepreneurs and setting up their own small or large businesses to create meaningful change in the world. So I think that's all that we have for now, Peter. So let me just thank you all very much. Thank you for inviting me here. I hope that you've picked up one or two things that will be useful, and look forward to future opportunities for engagement either here or elsewhere. Thank you very much. Just to comment that on that, Shahiri, I missed probably 90% of it. It should be translated in English so that I can also benefit from it. We didn't have Swahili in my school, so I didn't learn any Swahili as I was going through schooling. So, but thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I know, a long time ago, Swahili was very much optional. During our time, it wasn't. And thanks for being with us. There is there is just one maybe question I'd like you to maybe just comment on. Somebody has asked the same June. What is your opinion on transferring away from the family, far away, when you are working? And now you have to move away from the family due to work, and you want to keep it. After that, we just go to vote of thanks.
So first of all, I think the family must sit together and agree on what is good for the family in that space. I don't think you can just get a job, jump on a plane, and go away and leave everybody hanging. I think it's important for that conversation to take place. What is of greatest benefit to the family at that stage in their lives? When I transferred to work in South Africa, I uprooted my family. I went down with my wife and daughter, and we had a great 2 years there. Could have gone down alone, but I suspect I would have really suffered if I was down there alone. For example, for starters, I'm very bad at cooking. So for starters, I would have lost half my weight. But that's on light note. I think the conversation is important.
Thank you very much. I love that. Yeah, enough times the families, more so young families, get into conflict because of such issues. It's good to agree. At this point, first, on my own behalf, I'd like to say thank you, and I want to invite Oduor-Otieno. Oduor-Otieno is one of our board members for Power Monday, and our scribe, to give an official vote of thanks, and then we can move on. Yes, Oduor-Otieno.
Yes, thank you very much. Can I see myself on the screen? Where am I? Can you see
You are
me?
on the screen. You're on the screen. We see you.
Yes, on behalf of Live Your Dream, Power Monday team, thank you very much, Daktari, for such an elaborate and candid presentation. One of the things that I've now learned after even writing being part of the team that wrote your memoir, or they call it what, biography, is that learning must, not just should, but must continue. Even when you leave corporate world or even the public service, we must continue. We must continue learning. And I think there are about three keywords that I think we need is a take home. One of them is that we must be intentional. We must be deliberate, and we must be purposeful. When you put all that together, climbing, or I like your word scaling. In fact, what a coincidence, Daktari. We had a small debate before we put that flyer, whether is it scaling the heights or climbing the corporate ladder, or is it mounting? But you're right, scaling. So now for those who didn't know, they know that you went to a good school or you went to a good college. We have our brother called board director called Dr. Melvin from his nickname is the Lenana Boy. I'm sure he's also going to confirm that yes, we need to be very deliberate. We have to be very intentional, and we have to be purposeful, because by so doing, scaling that corporate ladder becomes much easier, because you see, you make yourself available at the right time and with the right mind. So I think with those few words, I can say asante sana, and I think that another take home that we need to encourage each other with is the quotable quote I picked from you, which is, courage is not an option. We must be courageous. There are times that things will be thick, and there are times that they will be good. But we must be courageous, because we are doing what? We are focusing on making our careers, our lives, the world a better place. And I think from all this talk we have had, you have just shown how scaling the corporate ladder in itself over the years, you have transformed this world in a way that only you could, in your own special way. Thank you very much. And please, what you told us, I'm sure is just a tip of the iceberg. Give us an opportunity to invite you again later in the year. Thank you very much once again, and say hello to your madam and the family. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Diambole, for that. And maybe at this point in time, yes, you wanted to comment on that for Diambole, that piece, Dr. Martin.
No, just to thank him and just acknowledge, those comments that he's made, and obviously to thank him for being part of, my documenting this history that is in that book that I spoke about earlier. And also finally, just to say that Kelly from my office has, you can see her there, the lady in blue. So Kelly has posted in the chat box our programs for this year. So if you download that, you'll see all our open programs for this year, and I invite you to participate. So thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. And maybe just to mention to everyone in here, Live Your Dream has been doing this for the past 5 years, and we continue to do this every Monday, early in the morning, 7:15 to 8:15. And you're welcome. We use same link. We are privileged to have different people accept to come and share with us, like now, Dr. Martin Oduor. Again, on 8th, is it on 8th? On 8th, there is Live Your Dream is organized some celebration for International Women's Day, and details were put in there in the chat. So you people can check it out and maybe consider subscribing. At this moment in time, I'd like to welcome Antonia. Are you there? You can give some announcement, and then I think
Peter
yes.
Paul, I've just noticed something that I want to mention. So I just noticed that my best man and my best woman, Moses and Margaret Abira, are on this call. I didn't know they were going to be here, but you can imagine that goes back many, many years ago. So thank you, Margaret and Moses.
Thank you for mentioning that. I had seen Dr. Musa Bira, and that reminds me that at some point we attended with you an anniversary for one of my friends and member of our Rotary Club, Don Okpala, Chief Don Okpala. You were there, I think, as a chief guest. So it's good. I'm pro-family and I love family life, so I relate with such quite a lot. Antonia, are you there? Yes.
Yes, I'm here. Good morning, everybody. I am so glad that I joined the call today. It has been so informative, and you can only find such people at Power Monday. So I'm so sorry for those who have been locked out because the room was to capacity. We will definitely share the recording within the shortest time possible. And for me, I just want to remind us about the upcoming meet and greet. Kindly subscribe. The flyer has already been shared. You can get the details from our WhatsApp group and be part of this transformative movement, which began 5 years ago. Just come, do your merchandise, and make sure that you network with more people. The faces you're seeing here, you'll be able to see them one-on-one, not just on the screen. So kindly make sure that you create time. It will be on 29th of March at Kileleshwa. It's a convent. Remind me the name called, Peter?
JJ McCarthy.
It's JJ McCarthy. Yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And thank you for those who have subscribed already. The details will be shared. You can share them on the chat screen for those who have not yet gotten them, so that we can have the information. You can share the flyer on the chat session so that people can get to know and maybe take a photo of the details. Otherwise, I would like to welcome those who joined us this week to Power Monday. You're much welcome. We had Winnie, we had Joseph, we had Shedrack, we had Winfred, Mercy, and Nancy. You're most welcome, and I trust that so far you are finding Power Monday WhatsApp group the place to be for you and your business. Otherwise, thank you so much, and have a great week ahead with God's blessings and a fruitful one. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I've put the pay bill there. For people who are going for meet and greet, it's only 1,500. It's at JJ McCarthy. It's on 29th of March. That is next month, the last Saturday of the month. And we will have a great afternoon there. And I've put there the pay bill you can use. Yeah, for joining Power Monday WhatsApp group, I had put a link there. It's liveyourdream.co.ke/Power Monday. And you will be able to fill a form in there. Then we add you. For people who yeah, I've answered that question. And then for people who, for YouTube link, it's at Power Monday. It's youtube.com/@Power Monday, and that would be great. Now, Maurice, now that you've reminded us about prayer, you will do for us closing prayer.